TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Yeah, so it lasted a while, and then they cut the deal with WC, which is weird because they already cut the deal with WWE. And Vince was already starting his heel persona. He was practicing it in Memphis.
I remember, yeah.
And out of nowhere, they cut a deal with WCW at the same time, which was fucking weird now because it's going to be WCW and WWF guys in the locker room. And to make room for those guys, and it was Kenny Kendall, I know, the Gambler, a few other guys came over from WCW to make room for them. They let a bunch of us go, and I was one of them. But they gave us 2 weeks, so there was that 2-week overlap with the Gambler and Kenny there. And Wolfie D, man, he came to me on my last night and said, dude, he goes, I don't give a fuck about any of these motherfuckers. He said, but it'll be a crime against wrestling if you quit the business. He said, do not fucking quit because you have something. Stick with it. And that meant a lot because I really looked up to Wolfie. Wolfie and Jamie were on top, man. It was them against Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich were fucking the main event. So for the main event guy to come to me and tell me that. And I talked to Kenny Kendall and I said, dude, he saw I was depressed. And he's like, what's wrong, dude? And I said, they let me go because you guys. I'm like, what should I do? He's like, dude, how much you getting paid here? I told him $40 a night, about $160 a week. He goes, they're about to do a 10-day taping down to Disney. He goes, you'll make more than that in one day. He said, get your ass down to Disney.
I was going to ask you how you get down there.
Yeah. So Kidman didn't want to do it. Kidman had enough of being too small. So he was going to go back to the Northeast, start doing indies. I drove to Atlanta. And I had about 4 days in between when I got to Atlanta and they were going to start the Disney taping. And he gave me the number of the power plant. But he didn't give me an address. I called up and I got Brenda, who was the secretary.
Right.
She was a fucking... she was always sweet once I got there. But
right.
Before I got there, and even she was a bitch. To play it straight up a bitch.
Right.
She really was. To everybody, really. She was just a bitch. So she wouldn't tell me where the taping was. She wouldn't let me talk to Jody. She wouldn't do anything.
Huh.
So I was really getting fed up, man. I was in Atlanta 3 days. I called Moolah. I called Alpha. Nobody had a number on Jody. So I was like, fuck, man. I love Memphis. And my whole plan to go to WCW was literally go there to get sent back to Memphis because I loved it so much. I love being on the road. I love being one of the boys.
Right.
So I get to, so the plan was get to WCW, be noticed so they send me back to Memphis. So within 3 days, I'm thinking, you know what, things were going so well. And when I got fired, it was tough to get fired from Memphis. And I know there was a reason they were making room and shit, but still, to be one of those guys that got fired sucked. And then when it didn't work out, when I didn't get right to the power phone, I couldn't talk to Jody. I'm like, fuck it. And I was ready to quit. And I went to a bar in the middle of the afternoon right on Piedmont Avenue in Atlanta. And literally nobody except the bartender. And the kid just comes out and he goes, what's your story? Young kid. And I said, I told him the whole story. He goes, I'll just drive to Florida. And I wasn't. I was going to quit. I was literally about to fucking move back to New York. I was like, yeah, I don't know, dude. It just seems like fate is telling me this is the end of the road.
Right.
He's like, no. He said, drive to Florida. He goes, what do you have to lose? You know where they're taping it. He says, it's going to be Universal Studios, even if you got to pay for a ticket. Which on Memphis money, I couldn't afford it, but fuck it. So I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. And it was my last shot. So I drive down to fucking Florida, go to Universal Studios, bring my bag, bring my gear, which everybody else is just on the bus. They bus you in. And then they bus you right out. They don't let you stay in the park. So I got this huge bag. People's looking at me like I'm nuts. So I watched the first taping. That's actually when Austin got hurt. It's when Austin blew out his tricep, I think,
right,
on this taping. So I watched the first show, and then they make everybody leave the arena, the soundstage. And I immediately go down to the railing. And I see Doug Dillinger, and that's another dick.
Oh, I hate him too.
Douchebag.
Yeah, total.
So, dude, I'm sitting there at the railing, and I know Jody's name. That's all I know.
Right.
So I want to fucking say I want to talk to Jody. And I see Doug, and I see him scouting me out. And he shakes his head, just a miserable fuck. Shakes his head and says, you motherfucker. And I see him walking to me. I'm like, oh, fuck. This fucking prick's going to throw me out.
I used to have problems with him all the time in Philadelphia at the Civic Center.
And out of nowhere, dude, I just see somebody standing over by the little entranceway for the wrestlers. And he's getting closer and closer. And I figured either he's going to throw me out or I got to get this lady's attention. And I think it ended up being Janie Engel. And at the time, I had no idea who she was. But now looking back, a few years later, I think that was Janie. I wish I would have asked her. And Janie Engel was Eric's secretary.
Right.
For those who don't know. And I think Terry Funk's sister-in-law, maybe?
I don't know.
She's related to Terry. That's how she got in the business. So I got her attention just as fuckface was getting to me. So he's standing there and he's like this, you motherfucker, how dare you even talk to anybody? And I said, hey, here's the deal. I've done Smoky Mountain. I wrestled with Moolah and Hoff. I did some WWE, and I just came from Memphis. I'm like, is there any way I can go talk to Jody? So she goes, hold on. So she walks in. Now I got to sit there. And I swear to God, the motherfucker is from here to here just staring at me.
Oh, I believe it.
And I don't know what to do. I'm like, hey, Doug. And he just doesn't say a word. Finally, she comes back over to me. She goes, he'll see you. So I go back there, and Jody, now, dude, obviously, this is my fucking time. I know. I'm not going to forget this. So Jody tells me, all right, this was early May tapings. He said, all right. He goes, I was like, is there any way I told him my deal. He's like, all right. He said, go back up to Atlanta and meet me in the power plant on May 8th at 2 p.m. Now, dude, there's no way on God's green earth I'm going to forget this, right? And of course I wrote it down anyway, but I didn't need to. I mean, this is fucking, as soon as he said it, it's ingrained in my fucking brain. So I'm like, Jody, is there any way I can, get on taping now? I'm like, I was in Memphis. It was hard. I'm like, I didn't make shit there. I lost money. Like, can I please get a few matches? He goes, nope, already booked. All right, so I went back out and I watched a few more matches, and I walked around the park and watched some more matches. I drive back to Atlanta. Now I'm on cloud 9. At least I'm going to go fucking to the power line. So get there on May fucking 8th, 2 p.m. He goes, where the fuck were you, boy? I'm like, what? Like, I told you to be here yesterday at 8 a.m. Dude, I know for a fact this motherfucker did not say May 7th at 8 a.m. You can't confuse the two. So, of course, sorry. Oh, man, I thought the show. He said, nope, come tomorrow. So, no, he said May 10th for some reason. He skipped a day, I believe. He said, come at May 10th. He goes, not 2. Everyone's gone at 2. Come at 8. Oh, yeah. So, of course, I show up at 7:30.
Right.
Just in case, because I'm thinking he might be fucking with me again. So I show up, and Mike Winter was there. Mike Winter was one of their main trainers. And I don't know too many people know Mike. Mike ended up literally doing minute work with me for one match, I think. Maybe 2.
Right.
Everyone thinks he was the main guy. It was actually Mark Starr with me, and Mark got hurt. They didn't want to keep flying him into Atlanta, so they put Mike with me. And I like Mike, but he didn't fit the gimmick.
Did you like the gimmick?
I like that it wasn't a guy just getting beat.
Right.
I like that it was something. When it was first kind of proposed to us, it was kind of going to be a hardliner type gimmick. I guess I forget construction workers, but I thought it was bland.
Right.
I wanted to come out and do like it had nothing to do with me being gay or going to clubs. I couldn't back then, but I wanted to do like a dance gimmick.
Right.
That would be funny.
Right.
Like fucking. And I think I probably just thought village people. That's probably what I thought. So it would come out tough, looking tough with the fucking minute work gimmick. The fucking tool belt and the whole 9 yards, but then dance.
Right.
I thought it'd get more heat, it'd be more, at least something.
Right.
But Mark didn't want to do it, and they were kind of half-assed. Sullivan was half-assed about it, and Arn was half-assed about it. So we ended up just doing what we did. But it was better than, because people think I started as minute work. I did. I was doing jobs before minute work for WCW for a good few months at least, maybe 6 or 7 months. My first big show was the Bash at the beach, the one that was actually on the beach. And the main event that was before the pay-per-view, they did the Sunday Night Slide main event. Right. And I wrestled Johnny B. Bad. That was my first big match. But I was Kanyon. I wasn't minute work. And I was Kanyon for a while. I even beat Disco as Kanyon before minute work. Because they hated Disco because he was a friend of Page. Right. I don't think they knew I was a friend of Page. It would have been me that beat fucking Disco. But
going back to your story, I didn't want to cut you off. Also, we're talking about Jody.
Yeah, so I show up the next day, of course, 7:30. They don't show up till 8:30 or 9, whatever, but I don't give a fuck. So they bring me in, Mike Winter's there, and Mike had done, I know Mike used to do Pacific Northwest. I remember the name from up there, so I kind of knew who he was. And Jody just says, all right, go in there and do a 7-minute match, and just listen to him. So I'm like, all right, I'll listen. So Mike called a real basic match. I, try to get whatever I knew I could do that looked good, but I definitely didn't do the moonsault. I just listened, and literally after 7 minutes, Jody literally, Mike pins me. Jody looks, goes, turns around and walks to his office. Mike rolls out of the ring, goes into the other ring, starts training the other guys, and nobody says a word to me. Now it's 45 minutes, dude. Now I'm walking around the power plant looking at all the posters and all the cool shit. Like, holy fuck, this is, if you're an Elvis fan, this is like walking around Graceland by yourself. It's awesome. But I'm thinking, what the fuck just happened, man? Nobody said a word for 45 minutes. Finally, Mike Winter comes on and goes, Jody wants to see you. So I go in Jody's office, and Jody's a huge guy, big fucking guy, burly guy. And literally never looks up, dude. So I walk in, he literally goes, sit down, kid. So I sit down, and he's playing with something. He used to play electronic something. Right. Like in one of those old cribbage games or whatever. So he's like, kind of looks up, but not enough where I can really see him. And he grabs a piece of paper and a pen and just starts writing. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? He writes, literally like he's in the mafia. Flips it over and slides it across the table. I'm like, so I looked at it, and it just had 6 dates, like June 15th, 27th, July. He had 6 dates in June and July. He goes, "Can you make those dates, kid?" I'm like, "Yep." He's like, "Show up." Didn't even say where they were. It's just dates. And then I was like, my main thing was I wanted to keep being in a school because I like coming up with new stuff. I like I watch tapes and then try new stuff. I just need someone to work with, really. And so that was my big thing. I didn't want to be charged for school because I couldn't afford it at this point. So I said, I was like, "Jody, can I ask you one more thing?" He goes, "Go ahead." But just I was so scared of this guy. He's like, "Is there any way I could show up here to school and practice with the guys?" I'm thinking he's just like, "Yeah, if you pay me $3,000." That's the first time he looks up and goes, "That's the best thing you could have asked me, kid. Yeah, show up." And that was it. Never charged me.
Cool.
And right away, man, I just got to work, right off the bat, man. One of my first things, I went down there within a couple of weeks. I worked with Triple H was there. Paul Levesque was still there. Worked with him, Terry Taylor. Who was the guy in Techno Team 2000? The dark-haired guy.
Techno Team 2000.
It wasn't Eric Watson. It was the other dude. He was there.
I know who you're talking about.
And we ended up doing we didn't really do a tag match. I think everyone just kind of tagged in, and then two guys would work, and then you could tag anybody.
Right.
And I remember even back then, Paul, he was mad. He was, "Man, we finally got a new guy that bumps and sells. He's willing to sell." Terry took a liking to me right away. Really, right off the bat, Terry Taylor, because he was down to school a lot for tryouts and stuff, and he would pull me aside. And Terry really, helped me out a lot. Paul was gone quick. Triple H left quick, and he was gone almost immediately. Alex Wright was there. Worked with him a little bit in the beginning. And DDP, of course, was there all the time. Immediately saw my work ethic, and that's how me and Paige became friends. He just saw me working every fucking day, working my ass off. And I think he saw me as someone that would take all his moves and practice stuff with him. And, kind of what I was always looking for too. So it worked out for me. And so he took a liking to me based on that right away. He was the first guy to really, I remember one day after school, he goes, "What are you doing?" "Nothing." I was like, "I'm going up to the Giants' apartment. A bunch of the wrestlers live up there in the same apartment. We're just going to sit by the pool. You want to go?" And that's when I started kind of mixing with getting to know guys like Disco and, through him, Raven, when Raven came in. And that's kind of how I got in there. I started getting featured.
I was going to ask you, did any of the vets take a liking to you?
Other than DDP, Disco, but I wouldn't say he was a vet, man. Actually, I was there before he was. He was doing a lot of indies. I'd worked in indie with him. So I kind of knew who he was. And then Paige went to bat for him with the Disco gimmick.
Right.
And I actually worked his dog match. Because we knew each other and Paige, Laurie, and Stat. So me and Disco had a connection right off the bat, too. And then I think Raven was still in ECW, but then Raven, I think, came down to Atlanta to hang, and we went to the movies together, and that's how I got to know Raven. And we hit it off pretty well right off the bat, too.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.